9 o'clock at night. You can barely keep your eyes open. You're exhausted. You get into bed and suddenly it's gone. The sleepiness vanishes. Your brain switches on. Thoughts start looping. You lie there staring at the ceiling, tossing and turning. An hour and a half, sometimes two. Your body is screaming, "I'm tired," and your brain responds, "Not now." Sound familiar? This is one of the most frustrating health problems there is, because you can literally feel how badly you need sleep, but your body refuses to let you fall into it. And here's what's maddening. Most of the advice you hear, skip the coffee, put the phone away, take melatonin, doesn't work. Not because it's wrong, but because it's aimed at the wrong problem. As an endocrinologist, I can tell you, if you're exhausted but can't fall asleep, this is almost never about sleep. It's about a nervous system that's stuck in alert mode and can't switch off. Today we're going to break down exactly what's happening in your body when you're lying there, tired but wide awake, why your brain won't let you shut down, and what you can actually do about it. Not generic internet tips, but things backed by research that genuinely change the situation. Stay until the end, because one of the reasons you can't fall asleep doesn't start in the evening. It starts during the day, and most people have no idea. The first thing you need to understand, and this changes everything, tired and sleepy are two different states. They can happen together, or they can happen separately. Tiredness is when your body has used up its resources, your muscles are spent, energy is at zero. You physically feel like you need rest. Sleepiness is when your brain is ready to transition into sleep, when your nervous system shifts from wakefulness mode into rest mode. That's a different process. It's controlled by hormones, neurotransmitters, and your internal clock. You can be incredibly tired, but not sleepy. And that's exactly what happens. When you lie down after a brutal day and instead of sleep, you get a brain that won't stop talking. Your body is tired, but your nervous system isn't. It's still in combat mode, still scanning, controlling, worrying. And until it switches, sleep won't come, no matter how long you lie there. This isn't laziness. This isn't a bad habit. This is physiology. This state even has a scientific name, hyperarousal, and it's the core mechanism behind most cases of chronic insomnia. Let me break down what this means for your body. Your nervous system has two modes. The first is sympathetic. That's fight or flight. It speeds up your heart, tenses your muscles, raises alertness, pushes cortisol up. It's there for when you're in danger. The second is parasympathetic. That's recovery mode. It slows the heart, relaxes muscles, starts digestion, and prepares the body for sleep. For you to fall asleep, the parasympathetic system has to take over. The sympathetic has to step back. It's like a switch. One mode fades out, the other kicks in. But here's the problem. If you live in chronic stress, and most people in 2026 do, that switch gets stuck. The sympathetic system doesn't turn off in the evening. It keeps running. Your heart beats a little faster than it should. Your muscles stay slightly tense. Your brain keeps scanning for threats, even though you're lying in a dark, quiet room. A study published in the journal Psychoneuroendocrinology found that people with insomnia have significantly higher evening cortisol levels than good sleepers, meaning at the exact time when cortisol should be at its lowest, theirs is still elevated. The body physically cannot transition into sleep mode. And here's what's important. Hyperarousal isn't just an evening thing. It's a 24-hour state. Research in the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine describes insomnia as a disorder of 24-hour hyperarousal with elevated cortisol, increased heart rate, and heightened brain activity, not just at night, but throughout the entire day. A person can feel reasonably calm during the day because their nervous system is still calibrated toward vigilance, and that surfaces the moment they try to sleep. Now let's take an honest look at what a typical evening looks like for most people. You come home from work, you're wiped out. You turn on the TV or grab your phone, scroll through the news, check social media, watch a show, maybe reply to a few work messages, have a snack, make some tea, and this goes on until 11 or 12. Then you get into bed and wonder why you can't sleep. But here's what was happening that whole time. First, screens. The light from your phone, tablet, or TV, especially in the blue spectrum, suppresses melatonin production. Melatonin is the hormone that opens the gate to sleep. When it's suppressed, the gate stays shut. A 2025 meta-analysis in Frontiers in Neurology confirmed evening blue light exposure delays melatonin production, shifts circadian rhythms, and increases the time it takes to fall asleep. And what's even more important, light at night can raise cortisol. So your screen is simultaneously suppressing the sleep hormone and raising the stress hormone. Second, the information stream. News, social media, work chats, all of it is stimulation. Every notification, every headline, every comment is a small spike of dopamine and cortisol. Your brain gets the signal, something is happening, stay alert, and the switch gets stuck in wakefulness mode again. Third, food and caffeine. A late dinner, a snack before bed, coffee after lunch. All of it can keep metabolic activity going when your body should be winding down. Picture this. Someone is lying in bed at midnight. An hour ago, they were checking work messages. 40 minutes ago, they were scrolling through the news. 20 minutes ago, they ate some chocolate. Their melatonin is suppressed, their cortisol is elevated, dopamine is active, their nervous system is on full alert. And they say, I don't understand why I can't fall asleep. But there's one more mechanism that makes everything even worse. You lie down, you can't sleep, and you you start thinking, why am I not sleeping? Tomorrow is going to be brutal. If I don't fall asleep in the next 30 minutes, I won't get enough rest. And if I don't get enough rest, the whole day will be a disaster. Sound familiar? This is called cognitive hyperarousal, anxiety about sleep that itself prevents sleep. The paradox? The harder you try to fall asleep, the less likely you are to succeed, because every anxious thought is a signal to the sympathetic nervous system. Your brain treats your worry as a threat, and it responds accordingly. Cortisol goes up, heart rate increases, muscles tighten. So there you are. Your body is exhausted, but your brain is running an internal monologue at full volume. And every minute without sleep makes the anxiety worse, which makes the wakefulness worse, which makes the anxiety worse. It's a vicious cycle, and this is exactly what turns one bad night into chronic insomnia, because your brain starts associating the bed not with sleep, but with anxiety. Here's an example. A patient tells me, "Doctor, I can fall asleep on the couch in front of the TV in 5 minutes, but the second I get into bed, sleep just disappears." That's a classic pattern. On the couch, there's no pressure to fall asleep, but the bed has become a trigger for anxiety. The body preemptively switches into alert mode the moment you lie down. And now, what I promised at the beginning, the cause of insomnia that doesn't start in the evening. It starts during the day. Remember when I said hyperarousal is a 24-hour state? That means your evening starts in the morning. If you wake up and immediately grab your phone, you launch stimulation from minute one. If you drink coffee on an empty stomach, you spike cortisol that's already at its peak. If you spend the entire day in gotta finish, gotta respond, gotta get it done mode, your nervous system simply cannot stop by evening. Not because the evening is bad, but because the day never gave it a single pause. Picture a car that's been driving in fifth gear all day long, and in the evening you want it to instantly stop. It can't. The engine is overheated. The brakes are hot. It needs time to slow down. Your body needs that slowdown time too. And if it didn't get it during the day, it won't be able to switch by evening. Now, what to do about it? Not generic advice, specific things that work according to the research. First, create a wind down zone an hour and a half to 2 hours before bed. That means no screens, no news, no work messages. The light in the room should be warm and dim. This isn't a preference. It's a physical necessity for melatonin production. Melatonin rises in darkness. Bright light, especially blue spectrum, literally stops it. What to do instead of screens? A paper book? A quiet conversation? A warm shower? It lowers your core body temperature, which helps you fall asleep. Light stretching. Second, a breathing technique. Specifically, inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 6 to 8. The long exhale directly activates the parasympathetic system. This isn't meditation. It's a mechanical input to the vagus nerve. 5 minutes in bed before sleep, and the nervous system starts switching. Third, don't lie in bed awake. This is one of the key principles of cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, CBT-I. A 2026 meta-analysis published in Frontiers in Psychiatry confirmed CBT-I is the most effective non-medication treatment for chronic insomnia. The core rule, the bed is only for sleep. If you haven't fallen asleep within 15 to 20 minutes, get up, go to another room, do something calm, come back to bed when you actually feel sleepy. This breaks the association of bed equals anxiety and retrains the brain to treat the bed as a place for sleep. Fourth, restructure your day. One walk during the day, no phone, 20 minutes. This lowers cortisol, stimulates the vagus nerve, and gives your nervous system a pause it doesn't get if you're behind a screen all day. We covered this in detail in the stress video, link in the description. Fifth, a fixed wake time. Every day, including weekends. This sounds strict, but it's the most powerful signal for your internal clock. When you wake up at the same time, your body starts predictably preparing for sleep in the evening. When you wake up at random times, the clock gets confused and your body doesn't know when it's time to sleep. Sixth, cut coffee from the second half of the day. Caffeine blocks adenosine receptors, the substance that builds up sleep pressure. Even if you feel like coffee doesn't affect you anymore, it can push your sleep onset back by 30 to 60 minutes. Last cup before 2 p.m. Now, something important. Everything I've said works for most people whose insomnia is driven by stress and hyperarousal. But there are situations where the problem goes deeper. If you can't fall asleep despite making all these changes, and it's been going on for more than 3 months, see a doctor. Chronic insomnia is a medical diagnosis, and it's treatable. Things worth ruling out: sleep apnea, especially if you snore and wake up feeling wrecked. Thyroid issues, hyperthyroidism can cause insomnia. Anxiety disorder or depression, they often go hand in hand with sleep problems. Iron and magnesium deficiency both can affect sleep quality. Tests worth asking for: TSH, free T4, ferritin, magnesium, vitamin D. And if insomnia is chronic, Ask your doctor about cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. It's not pills. It's a structured program that retrains your brain to sleep. And according to the research, it's more effective than sleeping pills in the long run. Let's bring it all together. If you're exhausted but can't fall asleep, it's not because something is wrong with you. It's because your nervous system is stuck in wakefulness mode. It can't switch. Not because you're not trying hard enough, but because it never got the chance. Screens until midnight, news before bed, coffee after lunch, not a single pause all day, anxiety in bed. All of this keeps the switch locked in the awake position, and willpower alone won't flip it. But the good news is that switch can be fixed. A wind down zone in the evening, long exhales, bed only for sleep, a walk during the day, a fixed wake time, no coffee after 2. These aren't magic pills. They're specific tools that directly act on your nervous system. And often starting with just one is enough. Simply remove screens an hour and a half before bed for 1 week and see what changes. What did you recognize about yourself in today's video? Let me know in the comments. And I'm especially curious, what time do you usually put your phone away in the evening? Or does it stay next to you until you fall asleep? And if you found this video helpful, hit like and subscribe. This was Dr. Steve. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.